Hi guys, I'm doing my day 9 a little bit late because I'm terrible and was planning a birthday party or 2 or 3 or 5 or I don't even know how many. Everybody's birthdays in June in my life. So today what I want to talk about is the Morrigan and Motherhood, specifically her son Meche or Mika. I'm going to say Meche because that's how the pronunciation guide looked to me online. So basically the Morrigan has a son named Meche. Or Mika, whatever, her son. The only one that I can remember in any of the things I've read that was given it a name. And she had this son, and he was reported to have adders or snakes either in his hearts, 3 hearts to be exact, or as his hearts, which, we all know mythology, it's a little bit wacky to think of snakes as or in hearts, but that's the tale. So there's a hero, the Celtic or Irish Ulysses. I've seen it written both ways, in different places. Has to kill the Morrigan son to save the world. Basically, his existence would ruin everything for everybody, and so I think it's Gian Kek, is the warrior, the Celtic Ulysses. And so he kills the Morrigan son and pulls out the hearts, burns them, and then throws the ash in a river, and it poisons the river anyway. So basically, rather than killing everybody, it just kills everything in the river, and everything around the river. So it basically doesn't say how the Morrigan feels about it or what she does. If she's mad, if she takes revenge, nothing that I could find was anything past. She just let her son die. Which to me, as a mother of 2 boys, is completely unfathomable, but I know that it's mythology, and I know that it's the story. I know she's the strong woman archetype, not necessarily really associated too much with motherhood, outside of them listing the names of her children and then this one story about Meche. So what I want to talk about today is how I felt when I first read about her son and about this story. I a little over-identified with it, as some of you may have either read or seen in one of my other videos. I have a son on the autism spectrum. He's pretty high functioning. It's not to the point of Asperger's, but he has a lot of social difficulties, and he is, oddly enough, he's very bossy, and he thinks that he is in charge of everyone, which could be autism. It could be, he could come by it naturally because I'm usually in charge of things. That's just me and my personality. Could be just his, but it struck me that her son was described as having snakes for hearts or adders for in his heart or whatever. And that kind of reminded me of a lot of the things I read and was told when he was first diagnosed. That he would never be emotional and he would never be affectionate. That these kids that are autistic or on the autism spectrum, they are cold. They have the little professor syndrome, that they're condescending and they're not loving and they're not empathetic and they're not sympathetic, and they could push another child down, draw blood from the fall, and just not care. And to me, I think snakes, the common, I guess, conception of snakes would be, or misconception, is that they're cold and slimy or just all evil. They don't have a purpose other than to be evil, to eat and kill and hunt and slay, and they eat baby birds and they eat baby bunnies, and that they're just these evil things that make the world kind of a creepy place to be in, particularly in the wild. So that struck me in a way that I was told that my son would be cold-hearted, that he wouldn't be emotional or empathetic, and all I could think of was the Dexters and Norman Bates and all the serial killers of the world that you see profiled on these shows, on television and stuff. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have a little psychopath that I'm going to have to deal with. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. So I identified with the Morrigan in this way, that she had this son that was perceived as something that could ruin everything. And the way autism was presented to me, both in person by doctors and specialists, and even teachers to a certain extent, presented Nathan as not being the son that I would ever want, that he would ruin my perception of children, that he would ruin the perception of this family life that I thought that I would have. And there's a grieving process there. There really is. When you think about it, you think you'll never have the kid that you got to drive to sports, which I don't care. I play roller derby, that's for me, but I'm never going to pressure my kids into doing something, because I was pressured into sports and I rejected it, and I was semi-bullied within my own family because of it, because everybody else did a sport of one kind or another, and now I'm the only one doing one as an adult, so it's kind of a crazy back and forth. But there is a grieving process involved with realizing that you'll never have the child that you thought you would have when they were born, when they look so perfect and they look so normal, but then all of a sudden, when Nathan was about 12, 14 months old, he wasn't talking like other kids his age were, like all the books and blogs and things that I had read about development and milestones. And I just kind of lost it a little bit. I went to my mom, who's a special educator, and she said, it's fine. He's an only child. He's a boy. He's this, he's that. He's not, whatever. And then my in-laws, because I stayed home with my newborn child instead of going back to a job that I knew was going to be removed from existence anyway, why go back for 3 months and only to lose it? I stayed home with my first and second children for as long as I could, to be with them, to have that motherhood experience. And yeah, when they were taking a nap, I was bored to tears. I wish that I was back at work, wherever, whatever. But then when they woke up and they smiled at me, it was super happy, perfect, fun time. So basically, I remember very vividly when he was going to start school. He had been in these programs for kids that are not in school age, where a couple of days a week he would go work with a speech therapist or an occupational therapist, a handwriting specialist for small and gross motor movements, all of these things that they try to do as early interventions. And it came time to start talking about school. And I kind of feel like I was getting railroaded at the school he was going to go to, because they had the program. Oh, he needs this, he doesn't need that. What you're saying, we're not seeing. And blah, 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 whatever. So I just vividly remember sitting on my couch, crying, just being so upset about the whole process, and hearing in the back of my mind, fight for him. I couldn't. And at this time, I wasn't practicing anything, any kind of religion. There was a long gap in between when I first started as a teenager and went on into my 20s. Then I guess when I got married, I kind of fell off. There were more important things to do than ritual. I wasn't trying to make my husband uncomfortable because he's agnostic, and I did not want to make him uncomfortable. I was just trying to keep copacetic. And at the time, and the only person that I told about this was my grandmother, of course, devout Irish Catholic woman. It's the Virgin Mary. She couldn't fight for her son. You fight for hers. You fight for yours. But now, the words fight, now that I'm delving deeper into my journey with the Morrigan, I really, really think it was her telling me, fight for your son. I couldn't. My son's heart is not made of 3 adders. There are not snakes in my child's chest. Nor is he an unemotional, unempathetic, ball of psychosis like I was told that he might be. He is verbal. He is very empathetic. He's very sympathetic. Those Sarah McLachlan poor kitty commercials, cries every time. He tears up every single time. He loves animals. He loves people. He loves babies. He can talk to an adult 1 second and turn around and talk to my nephew who's 2 years old and like little baby talk just as easy as any person. So I fought for him. I did. I didn't know who it was. I followed the advice and I fought for him, and that's where he is now. He is working on a higher belt in Taekwondo right now. He's getting ready to learn to play the violin next school year. He can literally decode any kind of parental lock my husband and I put on any electronic. He can crack it. Maybe he's watching a little bit of CSI or something on the iPad and he's learning how to do fingerprints or something like that. But you know what? He has cracked my phone, my husband's phone, his iPad, his brother's iPad, my work phone, the parental control we put on the Xbox, YouTube, on our cable, so he can't order, like, sit and watch, like, Deadpool, which he totally wanted to do the other day, and luckily I caught him, because that is not a movie I want my child to see and repeat, but I loved it. Anyway, totally beside the point. So basically, I feel like now that I go back in time, before I discovered the Morrigan, or she called to me personally, it is one of those things that I know she's always been there. And I don't say this in some high and mighty, I have a child, I know, kind of things, but she hit me where I needed to be hit at the time. Fight for your child. If anyone who knows me were to describe me in the relationship with my children, they would say that I'm super loving and kind, but also playful. I let them make their own mistakes, not to the point of getting injured, obviously. But I let them make their own mistakes. I let them be their own people. They pick a lot of their own clothes. I draw the line at hair dyeing because it's a little holdover that I was not allowed to dye my hair. So maybe I told them maybe summer of 8th grade. They're not that old yet, so I don't have to worry about it for a few more years. But But if you were to hear someone talk about the way I feel about them, it's mother lion, mother bear, mother panther, whatever you want to call it. I will literally go to the ends of the earth to protect my children and see that they get what they deserve and need. So to me, that's wolf. That was another one. People are like, God, you're like a she-wolf. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it. Anyway, so I guess what I'm getting at here is that it wasn't the way I was handling the situation was very, in my opinion, weak, but a weakness I had to have. It was a weakness that I needed to experience that grief in and deal with it that way. And then I got the strength push to be the she-wolf, to be the mother lion, because I had not had that need or opportunity up to that point until I had to start dealing with the school system. So I definitely identify with the Morrigan as the guardian, the warrior, the she-wolf, the mother, the person who, the deity that wanted me to do what she could not for her son. And again, I know mythos, it's the mythology of it about her son. There's no way a person really had snakes for hearts or had snakes in their hearts or had 3 hearts and lived to be of the age that Meche supposedly lived to. And I just wanted to bring that out, talk about the Morrigan and motherhood, the story of Meche and my son, and how I identified with it and how I believed that she helped me get to where I needed to be and to have that she-wolf mother instinct to advocate for my child to get an education that he deserved and needed to get past some things that he can't help. I'm dealing with it with my youngest right now too, who is a touch ADHD, which he also comes by naturally from me, and because I cannot keep still. I can't handle myself if I'm not doing something. So even right now, I'm not doing anything but making this video, so I'm a little bit, so I move my chair, whatever. So he comes by it naturally. But I'm getting ready to go advocate for him, having a few modifications for school next year. And you know what? A lot of people will say, oh, you just want your kids to have special treatment. Well, yeah, I do, because they have special needs. And that's not something that I'm making up. Not a hypochondriac on their behalf. It's not some kind of Munchausen or Munchausen by proxy syndrome or whatever. Anyway, back to the main point. The Morrigan helped me before I even knew the Morrigan was the Morrigan or the goddess for me. And I have had several experiences like that through my life that I'm going to get into in another video, where I talk about how I found her and how I feel like I maybe should have found her earlier, or she should have made her, or whatever. Like, she was calling out to me in a way that was like, dude, come on, pay attention. You know this. You can deal with this. So anyway, motherhood, Morrigan, that's it.